Are you thinking about moving to Knoxville, Tennessee? In today's video, we're going to talk about the market and what is expected for 2025. Christian and I have prepared a very informational video just for you. We will cover new construction or possible new construction, right? Maybe new amenities, availability, housing availability, interest rates, and even how the Federal Reserve affects the real estate market. And stay until the end because we're going to give you a very special tip on how to navigate 2025 real estate market. If this is your first time to the channel, subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first one to know about the current market in Knoxville, Tennessee. I'm Gilmore.
And I'm Christian with Castillo Realty, and we get calls from people just like you every single day. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 9 months, please feel free to reach out to us because we'd love to help you make a smooth move to Knoxville, Tennessee. And don't forget, all of our information is in the description below. So if you're wanting to get a call with us, if you're wanting to do a Zoom meeting, check out that description.
Well, let's start by talking about housing availability. You know, with my accent, it's so hard to pronounce. So be patient with me. No, being serious. Let's talk about how the market is going about inventory. And this has 3 to 4 months. Inventory has increased. And right now we have about almost 4 months of inventory.
Which is huge.
Yeah,
which is huge.
Compared to
the 2 months or 1 month I remember we had back in 2020, 2021. I remember like that was a crisis.
And not even a month. I
Right,
mean, it was just 2 weeks,
Right.
3 weeks max when, inventory rose so much. But right now we are starting to see a more balanced market. And that is a win-win for everybody. Buyers have the time to look for properties and think about it instead of the 15 minutes they had in years past. And sellers also have the opportunity to show the property, showcase it, and be able to convey what the property really is. And everybody gets a fair part in the game. In 2025, though, we are expecting to see an increase in
Inventory, right? I think it's about 10% or something like that we're looking at
I
increase.
froze for a second.
Yeah, that's okay.
But yes, we are expected to see an increase in inventory, and it will be a very fair game. It'll be a total balance market. New construction supposed to, ramp up and increase by 10% in 2025. And that also give us more of an opportunity to get people into homes that is really, really needed right now. So what do you think, Christian?
So I think you're absolutely right on just about all of this. I mean, the fact that we're increasing housing availability is fantastic because that means that housing prices, because supply versus demand, right, is going to come down at least a little bit, right? We're looking at a little bit of a higher interest rate market as well, looking at, versus, a few years ago compared to now. And I think that's also slowing down a lot of people buying a house, which means that there's a lot less competition on the market, which again improves pricing for future purchases. Now, let's talk about kind of why people are moving to Knoxville, Tennessee versus anywhere else, right? And I think one of the biggest reasons is affordability, right? This is a very affordable city compared to the other metropolitan areas. But don't take that for granted because there is a very competitive market within the $300,000 to $500,000 range. You know what I mean? It's not just, Knoxville's affordable, everybody moves in and now we're here. No, you still have to kind of compete a little bit because, again, the supply versus the demand is still quite low versus demand quite high. But it is much more affordable and you get a much better house versus someplace like, again, another metropolitan city where you might not have the easiest access to.
Now, like Christian says, reality check. If you've seen our other videos, he does reality checks. I have to make a reality check here.
Okay.
People think that 300 to 500 are within the city, and that is very, very hard.
Yeah.
So we are still more affordable than many other countries, but states, but, and maybe other countries. I don't know. But still within the city, and especially downtown, you're gonna find condos for 1,000, 1,200 square feet for over $1 million.
Sure.
So keep in mind, 300 to 500 in the skirts of Knoxville. Seems like my tongue is tied today.
Sure. When we do say 300 to 500,000 range, we really mean some places kind of like Powell. Some places kind of like Carnes, maybe some of the bigger, some of the smaller houses in Farragut. It's still pretty tough to find something in the 300 to 400 range in Farragut, but it is possible. So, just keep in mind that
Strawberry Plains.
Strawberry Plains. South Knoxville is actually a wonderful place too. South Knoxville is still, I think personally, truly, and I really mean this, I think South Knoxville is one of those hidden gem places that is growing exponentially. And if you don't get in somewhat soon, it's gonna be the next Farragut, the next Hardin Valley kind of place, because it truly is exploding in a beautiful way.
Yes, and you'll be surprised. We drove by a house the other day when I think we were doing one of the videos, and we noticed a house in South Knox. I mean, not a huge lot and not a huge house, sold for almost $600,000. Remember that one? I mean, beautiful curb of appeal.
It did, yeah. It had its own fence and everything. And I think that house, though, if I'm remembering correctly, had 5 or 6 bedrooms, right?
It wasn't big.
It wasn't huge, but it was a 2-story.
We're gonna look for it.
You know what? We're not gonna look for anything. Editor, hello, we have it right here for you guys to see. Here it is, and take a look at it. This is in South Knoxville. What a beauty.
Yes.
So now we talked a lot about, South Knoxville growth and the home and stuff like that. But now let's talk a little bit about like new and exciting developments that are going on right now in like the city of Knoxville. Right?
Exciting.
There is a new baseball stadium coming to Knoxville. I mean, straight into the center of the city, and there's apartments going up over there. And I mean, the pricing for those things are nuts, but I'm telling you this right now, considering the fact that those are still under construction and they're going to be brand new, that price is only going to go up. I personally, as the expert that I am in this field, I do not see those prices going below what they are.
No.
Maybe ever, to be honest with you.
Yes. And just to give you a hint, those 2 and 3 bedroom apartments with view to the stadium are over the $2 million mark. I think there's some under the $2 million mark.
Only a studio or 1 bedroom.
But they're very, very small. So like we were talking about South Knoxville, it has grown. Of course, the stadium, it's going to be downtown, right in the heart of downtown. But South Knox is 5.
Yeah,
I mean, depending
15,
on where
right.
you are.
Yeah, right.
It could be, just a walking distance,
right?
For some people.
What's that development that's right next to the river? Is it the South Waterfront? Is that what it's called? Yeah. I mean, the South Waterfront, guys, is something that is walking distance away from downtown Knoxville. So, I mean, and those places are going to be significantly more affordable than a $2 million 2-bedroom apartment.
Sadly, you won't have the view to the stadium.
But, you can still walk over there on a baseball Saturday, Sunday. I don't really know when they play baseball. But.
Well, it's a lot of fun. And no matter what day it is, we'll bring it to you.
We will.
A day. And
yes.
I mean, it's a lot of fun.
I'm telling you guys right now, the moment that stadium does get built, though, we will do a video in the stadium, going around the stadium, showing you all the cool things, eating popcorn and drinking beer.
Yes.
All right, so we talked about some of the really fun stuff like the baseball stadium and some of the cool, housing developments that are happening, but let's talk something a little more serious now, right? Knoxville is seriously investing quite a bit of money on its infrastructure as far as public transportation, right? We're looking at a bunch of new bus routes to really accommodate for those late night employees or some of those early morning riders as well.
And let me interrupt you there, Christian. we have said, and you might have or might not have seen some of our other videos.
This one right here. This one.
But our bus routes are not very efficient. So this is not the city to go on, like from here, West Knox to downtown bus route. I will have to go like in an Uber or something to get to the bus route.
Right, right. Because there's no bus route like that comes. I was about to say that I don't think there's a bus route that comes out to West Knox. I think the most it does is maybe North Shore.
I think it goes just to the mall.
I think
The Weston Mall.
I think you're right.
I think that's the farthest it goes.
Yep. And that's what I mean, a solid 10, 15 minutes from downtown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there are places you can go and there are things you can do with those bus routes, but again, they're not as efficient. So Knoxville really is working and they are doing a fantastic job at making those routes more efficient, making sure there are more buses on those major routes and that there's more staff during, like I said earlier, the night and the evenings. And since we did talk about the stadium, there's also, I think, there's going to be a gigantic parking situation the moment that stuff does start happening, right? Because we're adding, a gigantic apartment complex. We're adding a gigantic baseball stadium, and
we already have a gigantic football stadium.
Right, 101,000 seats now. But, it's just the parking situation, I personally think isn't the number one best when it comes to Knoxville, Tennessee. But I know they're working on a bunch of park and ride kind of infrastructure situations to make parking a lot less of a nightmare during situations like that, kind of like Uber. And I know it's not specifically Uber, but I know it's that kind of stuff that they're working on. So I know Knoxville really truly is working on making some more eco-friendly commuting options, which is, always fantastic. So these infrastructure things aren't like the most exciting thing in the world, right? Because it's like, oh my God, now I get to bike somewhere, whatever. But it really truly is a big help to our city. And I'm really proud of what Knoxville is doing to push itself to be a bigger and better and more wonderful city to live in.
And we have grown so much in the past 3 years.
Right.
So really, when officials have seen we're already this huge city and we were not prepared with enough infrastructure for the improvements or the growth, So I think 2025, it's going to be also great for growing in infrastructure here.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to see what's to come.
Yes.
And also one of the best things for home buyers, right, is about
and sellers.
And sellers, that's right. About this infrastructure updates is that this will make your home values go significantly up. So again, I think it is a great time to buy because there are great things coming down the line, and that's just going to improve your home value over time.
Okay, now let's talk about interest rates.
Disclaimer here, when we say the Fed is dropping their rates, we are not saying they're dropping mortgage rates. They are dropping their federal fund rate. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about what that means here in the next couple of seconds. But when we say the Fed is dropping their rate, that does not mean they're dropping mortgage rates. That means when the Fed does their thing, it will impact mortgage rates, all right?
And a lot of people get confused about that, folks. And that's why I want to make it clear. Sometimes when the Federal Reserve drop the rate, people say, oh, okay, we're going to wait because mortgage rates are going to come down. Not necessarily. So with that disclaimer out, let's say that it might impact mortgage rates, which is an advantage for buyers and sellers. The current projection of the federal funds rate coming down to 3% is real in 2025. And we really expect that those projections go live and impact the mortgage rates, because that will give you, the buyer, a much better affordability, and to you, seller, a much better opportunity to sell your home for a great amount.
So Hilmar, tell me something real quick. What exactly is the federal fund rate?
So thank you, Christian, for bringing that up. And we should have started giving you that information, right? The federal funds rates are the interest rates that banks lend money to each other overnight. And that sets a benchmark for interest rate in general, including those for mortgages.
Now, this is where the disclaimer comes in. This is why we said at the beginning that just because federal funds drop, right? The Fed rate is what they call it. So just because the Fed rate drops doesn't mean exactly 100% that the mortgage rates are going to drop. It means that they could drop, right? Because it all depends on the banks setting their own benchmarks. So.
And I remember when interest rates for mortgages were really, really, really low, at 2.5% and 3%, Fed rates dropped to 0. And my clients called me immediately and they were like, yeah, we're buying a house because, rates are now 0%. And it took a great amount of time for people to understand at that point that it was the federal rates, not the mortgage rates. So really when that happens, usually the banks pass that advantage, we can say, to the consumers, benefiting buyers and sellers alike. And again, when we talk about lower monthly payments, lower rates, you may qualify for a bigger loan amount, right? And not always the federal fund rates follow the mortgage rates. We have said it and we'll say it again, because factors like inflation expectations and also lender competition comes into play, right, Christian?
Right, absolutely right. And there's just a couple of other things that come into play as well. Jobless claims. If people don't have jobs, they can't buy houses. Okay, so that also affects mortgages. CPI index also affects mortgages, and the 10-year treasury also affects mortgages. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that go into mortgage rate that is not just the Fed rate. Okay, the Fed rate can have an impact on mortgage rates, but there's plenty of other things involved that really create a mortgage interest rate. So we say all of this to let you guys know that it looks like we could be heading to a lower interest rate market in 2025, but there's really no way to tell what's going to happen this year with interest rates and stuff like that. So we're hoping it gets lower. We're crossing those fingers, but it all depends on a lot of other factors as well. But now let's get into a reality check here.
There's always a but.
There's always a but. Okay. A lower interest rate market is really good for buyers because that means they have more affordability. That means they can purchase the home that they want to purchase, get into an affordable monthly payment that they can save money on. But that also means that there is an incredible amount of more competition on the market, right? Just because now you can afford a home means that Joe and his sister can also afford a home, right? So I lived through this in 2020 and 2021 when I was lending. It was a great thing to see. Again, affordability was fantastic, but there was also 11 or 12 offers from the same person, not from the same person, but from people who can now afford that home when they couldn't afford it before. So,
and let me interrupt you there, Christian, because not only that, you were in the lending side and I was still, in the, buying side and also the selling side. Buyers say the house was $150,000 and buyers just to get that house offer $200,000.
Yes.
So that is what it took us to today, because then that house didn't appraise, right, for $200,000, but there was a lot of money rolling, cash money. So that buyer said, you know what, I don't care. It is $150,000. The house appraised at $150,000, but I'm putting $50,000 for the appraisal gap, and I'm getting the home. So it was it was a great amount of competition, and some people got priced out.
Yeah.
Still with a lower interest rate. So be careful what you ask for.
No, that was very well said, and I was going to go just right into that as well. One of the biggest negatives of a lower interest rate market is the appraisal gap, right? Because lenders will not give you more money than what the house is worth, right? That's just plain and simple. If an appraisal comes in at $150,000, that bank is going to lend you $150,000. If the house is selling for $200,000, you have to come up with that extra $50,000. So again, lower interest rate markets are fantastic because it's affordable. You can now actually get into the home that you want. But you might get priced out in one way or another. So, waiting for interest rates to drop is not always the best option. I always say, if you can afford a home, jump into it and marry the home, not the interest rate. I know.
And also talk to us, because a lot of people go into buying a home in a competitive market and don't know the strategy. And not only they overpay, but they also, how many people bought without an inspection? And
Sight unseen, mind you. Guys, people bought homes. I talked to a human being who moved here from California, who bought a house straight up cash and didn't even have it, looked at. He had no physical eyes on the home. He just said, yeah, that looks good.
And today, it's not a great story. There are many other ways to buy a home today with the interest rates the way they are. And I would rather deal with the interest rate the way it is today, and again, getting some other ways to buy a home, than buying in such a competitive market, having to give up a lot of the important parts of buying a home.
Right. Because guys, look, truly, we love a lower interest rate market, because as lenders and real estate agents, that just means that we're going to make more sales, right? And that's fantastic. But as a regular human being that I am, at the end of the day, I really truly think that, a lower interest rate market like that can be really negatively impactful for the economy. And for a lot of families who were trying to afford a home and now cannot afford a home maybe 4 or 5 years later, because home prices have risen 10-20% versus the 1 to 3% or 3 to 5% that they normally raise in a regular annual market, right? So
now we are being positive that 2025, it's going to be a great year for interest rate, for buyers, for sellers. So we don't want to take you away to being excited of a lower interest rate. Just be aware of what also comes with a lower interest rate.
Right.
A lot of people that got priced out of the market a few years ago are back into the game.
That's right.
And they're going to be a competition for you and for you and for you and for you. So that's all. We're going to continue with this.
Yes. We'll move on from this. I'll free go to the next topic.
Now, looking at a bigger picture here in Knoxville, even through the toughest years, Knoxville has remained strong, and it's predicted to keep being strong and getting stronger. One trend we're seeing is a more demand of green homes, right? And builders are delivering. Builders are incorporating solar, efficient appliances, and natural gas. So we are seeing those improvements that the community is asking for.
So we touched earlier topics in the video about downtown Knoxville's growth and the baseball stadium and all that good stuff. But now let's move on to the different suburbs, right? Like Farragut, like Hardin Valley, like Carnes. Those places are getting a lot of growth too, because Powell is getting significant growth as well at new construction and stuff like that. That also provides a mix of that homely established neighborhood feel, right? Because it's not just new construction that's going on in these areas. And this is all happening because a lot of people are moving here, right? A lot of people with big families, and they need bigger homes. So places like Farragut are the place to get a bigger home like that. And now those places might be less affordable in the sense of the homes are bigger, right? And they have a higher purchase price. But don't let that deter you, because if you do have a bigger family, these are incredible places to live in because they are beautiful communities. And like I said, they offer a great mixture of new construction and established neighborhoods.
And I also think, let's not forget, I always thought, since I moved here, and this has been over 20 years ago, I look at Knoxville as a small, big city. Right.
That's a great way to put it.
And today it applies more than ever. So I think anywhere you live around Knoxville, it's no more than 45 minutes to downtown. Yeah. So if you compare that with some other cities that to get to downtown, it's hours.
Traffic as well.
This is not Knoxville. So let's not forget about how easy we can get around Knoxville. And like he was mentioning, Farragut, me saying Powell, all of these places have wonderful restaurants, amenities, parks. I mean, there's a lot of green here in the area.
Yeah, I mean, the Farragut area, the Concord area have beautiful parks, and they have a big lake and a marina. And I've seen so many people in their sailboats, and I love that. I love just seeing that. So yeah, as much as we do have our beautiful downtown city, we also have a lot of green all around the area, just like Omar said. Good mix in both worlds.
Yes.
So guys, as promised, we have a bonus tip for you, and I think this is a fantastic one, just coming from the workplace that I come from. Start planning now. Today, right now, sit down, plan, and please go get pre-approved by a lender. Because do you ever go grocery shopping and be like, well, looks like I'm gonna buy whatever I want, not knowing how much money you have in the bank? No, right? You go to a grocery store or anywhere, any sort of place that you're spending money, you go to this place knowing what your budget is, knowing how much money you can spend, and then spending that money, right? So I think home buying is the exact same. I know. Home buying is the exact same. You have to be prepared to know what you can spend, how much you can spend on it, and the kind of monthly payments you're going to be doing. Because if not, you're really just disillusioning yourself to be maybe in a home that you can't afford. Right? Because, it's beautiful to go look at these homes and things like that, but not knowing if you can afford it is really demoralizing, especially if you're really trying to get a home. So talk to a lender, talk to a real estate agent, talk to somebody, and be prepared right now to purchase your home in 2025.
Yes. And I think when you're saying be prepared, I think some of the ways is just write it down in a piece of paper, in a note on your phone, and your computer, in a drive that you share with, everybody that is going to be involved in the purchase, and start making those small tweaks, right? What do you want? Exactly. 2 bedrooms, 3, 5, 1 studio. Anything that goes into your liking, and then also into your needs. And once you get pre-approved, you are going to be able to see, well, we can, between our needs and wants, these are things that are non-negotiable, and these are things that we can live without.
Right.
So those are good tips to start. And of course, just book a one-on-one with us, because that's what we're here for. Sometimes people get to us and they're lost.
Right.
They don't know where to start.
Man.
They only know they want to buy a house.
Right.
That's it.
Right. The amount of first-time home buyers that when we go into an interview, because we will go into an interview with them together, and sometimes we'll do it in person, sometimes we'll do it over Zoom, and they're just like, I don't even know where my left foot is. Like, I don't know how to buy a home. I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. We are the experts in this field to help you get to where you want to be. And we're going to do that.
Yes. So. And remember one thing, I always think that is so true. Timing is everything.
Oh my God, yes.
And today might not be your time, but it could be tomorrow. It could be in a month. It can be in a year. We've worked with people for years, and as long as you are focused on your goal, you're going to achieve it.
That's right.
And you might not be prepared today, but you might be later on. So start planning today. We would love to hear from you. Leave us a comment below. Let us know what your thoughts are for 2025. And let's have a wonderful 2025. From Christian and myself, thank you so much for watching our videos. And if you are enjoying this, just share, subscribe, get the notifications from us when we post videos, so you are informed not only in 2025, but from
there on out. Because there have been quite a few clients of ours that we started working with them, 2-3 years ago. They bought a house and they'll call us again, 3-4 years later. Hey, I'm having a baby. Let's purchase a new house. So, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell notification, because we love you and we can't wait to see you in 2025.
They say.